Millions of demonstrators filled the streets of Cairo and other cities around the Arab world recently, opposing corruption, inequality, and the lack of freedom. Malloch-Brown, a former UN Deputy Secretary General, says the tidal wave is long overdue.
The economies are not creating the jobs that an increasingly young, aspirational Arab youth want. And, while that was a hugely popular message, which really touched a chord across the coffee shops and souks and streets of the Arab world, the official Arab leaderships were, for the most part, appalled that the United Nations would be lending its name to this kind of critique.
The protesters demand more say over their own lives. Democracy, says Malloch-Brown, is often a precondition for economic development.
In many countries, you would never get successful development if you didn't also have democracy, unless the poor had a vote and therefore had a voice in the affairs of the country. They were never going to get a fair deal from the country's rulers.
And that's where the international community comes in. It has a role, Malloch-Brown says, in helping citizens of certain countries build more democratic political systems.
So I think it's hugely important for the international community to provide that support now. But it needs to do it with a certain modesty and humility, which acknowledges that for years it has been on the side of stability, not democracy. We need to come in with, as I say, technical assistance, humbly and modestly offered, to allow Egyptians, Tunisians, others to build their own democracy.
Malloch-Brown says moving a nation towards democracy is challenging.
And more often than not, what unites people at the beginning is the common enemy, the regime that they want to see the back of, the Mubarak, for example, who they want to go. And all these groups have very different economic and political agendas. I think it'll take time to get a decent constitution in place, it'll take time for proper parties to form, and it'll take time for elections to produce the kind of coherent results which would allow a strong reformist government to take office with a clear democratic mandate behind it.
And that's the real test for the protesters in the Middle East who want to change their regime or who have already done it. For writer Faiza El-Masri, I'm Faith Lapidus, VOA News, Washington.